there, my friends! First of all, a huge thank you to everyone who told me about sourdough pancakes. You guys are the best. We've been eating them for breakfast almost every day now. It's not really pancakes in the American sense, more like a fried savory flatbread. Wicked good. Anyway, the topic for today is grilling Q&A. When I read all the questions that you sent me, I noticed two types: questions about grill types and questions about grilling techniques. In this video, we'll talk about grilling techniques, and I'll make another video about grill types, like charcoal versus gas versus electric, etc. Before we delve into the questions, we need to establish a few definitions. My viewers from the UK mentioned that what they call grilling in the UK, we call broiling in the US, and what we call grilling in the US, they call barbecuing. So that no one gets confused, I am using American terminology in this video. In other words, I'm talking about grilling that looks like this, and I'll be focusing on tender cuts of meat and other ingredients like fish, chicken, and veggies that cook relatively fast. I will not be talking about 8-hour-long smoking projects. Also, just to set your expectations, I grill on gas, but most advice from this video will apply to any grill. Okay, let's do it. Okay, so Mary Marmorato asks, how should I clean my grill? Found pieces of grill brush on my food. All right, so first of all, you do need to replace grill brushes regularly. At least once a year, but if you grill a lot, then maybe even more often. If your bristles are starting to look rusty and brittle, you should get a new brush. But that being said, you want to take some other precautions. What I do after I brush my grill is take an oiled paper towel and wipe the area where I'll be placing my food at least twice. If I'm grilling something sticky like fish or zucchini, I actually wipe it more like 8 times. This seasons your grill like the way you'd season a cast iron skillet, making it practically non-stick. But even if I'm grilling something like a steak or pork chop that is not going to stick or fall apart, I still oil the grill a couple of times. You don't need to do the whole territory, just the place where the food will go. This way, if there is some bristle stuck to the grill grate, it will fall through, or at least it'll come off on your paper towel, hopefully. All right, next question is from Jordan. How to not dry out meats on the grill? And a related question from Amanda Avila. What's the best method to grill chicken breast and keep it moist? All right, so all those moisture questions all boil down to doneness. And doneness, guys, is crucial no matter how you're cooking your meat, whether you're doing it on the stove or on the grill. So first you need to figure out where you're going. And lots of people don't know where they're going with this. They think that they should be cooking the chicken breast or pork chop to 160 degrees. So if you're gonna do that, it's gonna be a disaster, and I can't help you there because I can't break laws of physics, right? So yes, no 160 degrees. Chicken is done and tastes best at 140, between 140 and 150 for chicken breasts. Legs are best at very high temperature, but breasts 140 to 150. And pork chops 130, just like beef and lamb and all those other red meats. So if you want those temperatures, you have to cook them to about 10 degrees lower. So if I want my chicken breast to be 140, I have to pull it off the grill at 130. If I want my pork chop to be 130, I have to pull it off the grill at 120. In case you're worried about safety, just please realize that trichinosis parasites that used to exist in pork in our grandparents' days don't exist anymore. Cooking pork to medium rare is just as safe as cooking beef to medium rare nowadays. And chicken. I know you're all worried about salmonella, but realize that if it's a solid muscle, right, not butterfly chicken breast that you stuffed and then retied up, but a solid muscle, again, not ground up either, solid chicken breast. If it has salmonella, it would be on the outside. It cannot have salmonella inside the muscle. And the outside will hit a safe temperature very quickly. It just takes like a minute per side to get you to a safe temperature. on the outside. All right, so now that we know that we're not going to 160, we're going to 140 and pulling off even earlier. So the next question is, how do we get there? Like, that's your destination. Now, what transportation method you're going to use to get to your destination? And that will determine how the rest of your meat turns out. Because sure, like you maybe got 130 in the center, but maybe you cooked it so fast on such high heat that the center is good, but the outside is a little dry. And this is where you have to understand two types of heat. This applies to any cooking, but particularly to grilling. One is high and direct, and the other is low and indirect. Now, the high and direct is fabulous for flavor. That's what gives you that brown outside. It's mouth-watering. It's very complex. It's a chemical reaction known as Maillard reaction, and it's delicious. So flavor-wise, high direct heat is awesome. Texture-wise, it sucks because it dries out your meat inside and makes it tough. Now, low indirect heat is fabulous for texture because you're going there nice and slowly and gently, and the meat stays nice and soft and moist. Unfortunately, flavor-wise, that sucks. You're not going to get any browning that way. So what we need to do is combine the two methods. So first you do insanely high heat, direct flame is right under your food, but very quick. And then you move your food off the flame so that there's no flame directly underneath your food. If you have 3 burners on a gas grill, you would turn the middle burner off, place your food over that middle burner, and leave your other 2 burners on the outsides on low heat, and cover the grill and cook very slowly and gently, and test with a thermometer until you get to the right temperature. And I do have a whole bunch of grilling videos that demonstrate this technique. I don't have a chicken breast one, but I have one for pork, for rack of lamb, for steak. I'll link to all of them below this video, and you can get all the details, because as always, the devil's in the details. And one more thing that I forgot to mention, but it is very important, is that when I talk about temperatures, people go, they get a good thermometer, even like Thermopen, and they're saying, I spent all this money on a good thermometer, all I have to do is stick it in. And Helen said 130, I got 130. What gives? Why is my pork chop raw? And so what gives is the user error. People often stick the thermometer into the wrong spot. When I give you a temperature, say internal temperature of 130, and then your chicken breast rests to 140, I'm giving you the minimum temperature. Okay, that's in your thickest part of meat in the very center. If you stuck the thermometer in a little crooked, you might be getting, say, 130, where the center is actually 90 degrees, so you might be off by as much as 20, even 30 degrees because you stuck the thermometer in a little bit wrong. I have a video on that and how to learn to use your thermometer productively. I'll also link to that below this video. All right, so that's how to not dry out your meat. Next question from Harold Pastian. What a coincidence! I just watched your pork chop grilling video. See, Harold here is doing his homework, guys. Yeah, he knows how to Google. Okay, so I just watched your pork chop grilling video. The only issue I have questions about before I actually start the grilling is what is low temperature. Fortunately, I have a temp indicator on the grill from 150 to 650 degrees. What's a good low after the grill marks are done? Okay, so the first thing, Harold, is that you need to learn to completely ignore that stupid little indicator that you have on the lid of your grill. That is measuring the temperature of the lid. And I'm sure you're not grilling your pork chop on the lid, you're grilling your pork chop on the grill grate. So ignore that, okay? Grills are unpredictable creatures, even gas grills are. So my low and your low will be different. The thickness of my pork chop and thickness of your pork chop will be different too. So we're not trying to get perfectly the same low temperature. What's most important is that during that low stage, there's no flame directly underneath the meat, that your other burners are on, but not the burner on top of which your meat is sitting. And sure, you know, it might be a little higher, a little lower. That's why we are constantly testing that meat with a thermometer. Depending on how thick your pork chops are, it never hurts to test too much. So I would test every 2 minutes. And if they're huge and you feel like temperature is not moving at all in 2 minutes, maybe test a little less frequently. But as you get close, test a lot until you get to the right temperature. Next question from Tammy Wright. How do you cook and season your fish for the grill? Do you have a preferred type of fish for the grill? How do you keep it from falling apart and sticking? I have no luck at all with fish. And I also have a related question from Amanda Avila. What's the best way to grill fish like salmon? Okay, so first of all, I do have couple of fish grilling videos linked below with tons and tons of gory detail how to get you guys to produce great fish on the grill. But here are the highlights. So first of all, there's some fish that you can't grill. Please don't grill cod and haddock and hake and flounder and sole. Like, they'll just fall apart and fall right through the grill. Bye-bye goes dinner. Just don't even go there. You can certainly start to grill fish once they are at least the firmness of salmon and have the skin on. For fish that are like salmon texture without the skin, you're not going to have any luck. So make sure you're grilling it with the skin, even though you grill on both sides, but at least the flakes are attached to the skin, which holds it together a little bit better. So what else do I have to tell you? Yeah, so don't grill certain fish. And you need to learn to make your grill non-stick. Remember how in the beginning of this video I talked about brushing it many times, 8 times for fish, with an oiled paper towel, so that it doesn't stick. This way you'll have an easier time flipping it and it won't completely fall apart. And as far as the flipping methodology, there's a very particular way that I used to flip delicate fish fillets. Again, it's all in the videos that are linked below. The salmon video is more recent, so it's a little prettier, it's in HD, so that works for pretty much any fish. But I have a general fish grilling video that's a bit old. All the information in it is still good, it's just not as pretty. All right, so, oh, and one more thing I forgot about fish. Fish needs to be dry. The same applies to all things you put on the grill. They need to be dry, but fish particularly needs to be really dried off with paper towels very well. And then you oil it just a little, or put a little bit of my all-purpose grilling glaze on it, because that has a ton of oil in it. Just a little oil of film. All right, not oil of film, film of oil. Okay. Adam G, what's the most polyvalent seasoning for grilling that works for the most types of meat or fish possible? Kind of one size fits all, or rather most. And the related question from Amanda Avila again, marinating, yes or no when grilling? All right, so marinating. The answer is definitely yes for grilling. This creates a really nice, faster, more delicious, more complex browning on the surface of your meat. Now, what marinades don't do, there's a lot of misconceptions about marinades, that marinades make meat more tender and juicy. They don't. The only thing in your marinade that penetrates all the way through and does make your meat more juicy is salt. Everything else in the marinade is a surface treatment, but a very important surface treatment. I have one grilling, you can call it marinade or glaze, whatever you want. I call it a glaze because I don't normally let it sit on the meat. I salt my meat a day ahead, and then I dry the meat right before grilling and apply a little bit of that glaze. So I have that one all-purpose one. I have a video about it linked below that works on absolutely everything: chicken, meat, fish, vegetables. Just don't put it on your peaches or something. Other than that, it's fantastic. It really lets the meat of fish taste like itself. It does not make it taste very Asian-y or Middle Eastern-y or anything like that, but it produces really incredible, very complex browning. The one exception where I do apply it in advance is with skin-on chicken. And the reason I do that is that I still want the complexity of browning that it provides. It makes it taste very interesting, but I don't want the speed speed up of browning because poultry with skin is very prone to flare-ups. There's just so much fat there that I don't want to speed up burning on that. So what I do is I salt and glaze my chicken thighs or breasts, if they have the skin on, the day before and put it in the fridge, and then I dry them very thoroughly before grilling. And even though you'll wipe off pretty much all of that glaze, there'll be about 1 millimeter of the outside of meat that will absorb that, and it will taste very complex and interesting, but it's not gonna make browning go insanely fast and cause as many flare-ups. And another exception to glazing or marinating is very expensive steaks like prime dry-aged ribeye. I would not glaze that with anything, just salt, pepper, because it's usually thick, so it has plenty of time to brown, and it's usually very fatty, so it has plenty of opportunities to get very brown, and I don't need to help it out in any way. All right, so next question is from a viewer whose name I don't know how to pronounce. It's spelled SKSKSK. All right. How do you cook and season thin steak? Yeah, things like skirt steak, for example. So for thin steak, what I would do is dry really well, salt it, apply the glaze because I want to speed up browning, and put it on a screeching hot grill, like insanely hot. If you are on charcoal, get it nice and hot. If you are on gas, you might preheat for a long time, like 15-20 minutes, so that grill grate is just, browns it instantly. And I just give it 2 minutes per side, assuming your steak is about 1/2 inch. You can test that with a thermometer. So just get it really hot, 2 minutes, and off. That's it. One thing I would warn you with thin steaks is this. I prefer to not buy in between steaks. Either I go thin, like skirt steak, which is about 1/2 inch thick, or I go thick, like 1 inch or thicker. Because for thick steaks, you can test with a thermometer. And by the way, when I say steak, I mean any piece of meat. The same applies to like pork chops, chicken breasts, etc. So thick piece of meat, you test with a thermometer. Very thin pieces of meat, you don't test at all. As soon as they're brown, you're done. But if you're like 3/4 of an inch, 4 minutes total, 2 minutes per side is not going to be enough to cook it through. But you can't stick a thermometer into it, so there you're really playing that guessing game, and I don't like to play guessing games, so I would avoid in between pieces of meat. All right, where were we? Thin steak. Okay, next question, also from the same viewer. What are your favorite fruits and veggies to grill? Asparagus, zucchini, eggplant. I love grilled eggplant. It's fantastic. I have videos for all those veggies. I'll link to them in the description below. But yeah, peppers, portobello mushrooms are great. So there are lots of great options. Oh, corn. Take corn on the cob, peel it, rub it with butter, put it on the grill until it gets all blistery. I do not like corn grilled in husks because then the corn itself doesn't brown. I want to brown the actual corn kernels. And for fruit, I love peaches and strawberries. For strawberries, I don't cut them up. I just take whole strawberries and throw them on the grill. All right, next question from Andrew Mendez. My grill has no lid. What are workarounds? So, in restaurants, people don't have lids for grills, and here's what they do. Take a metal pie plate and invert it over the area where you'll be placing the food. This will trap the heat and get your grill grate nice and hot, and as if you're grilling on a covered grill. And you can also cover the food with that pie plate once the food is on. The only thing, don't use a very nice pie plate because it will warp the pie plate and make it kind of useless for baking pies. So what you could also do is buy some disposable aluminum pie plates and do the same thing if you don't want to ruin a nice metal pie plate. Next question from Verna Oyer. Is it possible to grill meats and veggies together on a skewer and have them done at the same time? No. So what you're describing is two very unproductive things, which for some reason people absolutely love to do on the grill. The first unproductive thing is cutting up meat into little pieces and putting it on skewers. Meat on a stick does not taste any better than meat without a stick. You're just wasting all this time cutting it up and sticking it on those sticks, and then your diners have to spend all this time taking it off the sticks. So the second unproductive thing is combining different ingredients. Like say I have that skewer with a piece of chicken and a tomato and a zucchini and an onion. Why would they all be done at the same time? They would not be done at the same time. So I really don't know why people do it. I think tradition, and maybe also they look cute. You know, those little skewers look adorable in the meat department. Very appetizing looking, so people buy them, and then it's not as good as they hoped. So if you want the meat and veggie juices to flavor each other, grill your meat, grill your veggies, and then put it all on the same platter. And then the juices will mingle and it's going to be delicious. I agree that, you know, a grilled zucchini dunked into steak juice is wonderful, but there are way better ways to accomplish that than that stupid skewer. Oh, okay, Helen, tell us how you really feel about skewers. That's all the technique questions. All the videos that I mentioned are linked in the description below. And next time, we'll talk about different grill types. Is charcoal really better than gas? Are the grill pans completely useless? I'll see you next week with more answers to life's persistent cooking questions. Here are more YouTube videos for you to check out, and if you are ever in the Boston area, maybe I'll see you in one of my classes.